bye, bye, bye,
Bye,
bye.
bye, bye,
Bye,
bye,
bye,
bye,
bye,
bye,
bye.
bye, bye, bye.
Hello, Jody Raynsford. Hello, listener.
Hello, David Hellard.
How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
A little bit jaded. We've taken the day off work
Oh,
to
nice.
plan our wedding in 2 weeks' time because
I mean-
we've just not had any time at all. There's no bands, no
Oh,
photographer.
no, let's see. What's the list? What have you got to do today?
Booze, band,
Easy. Ooh.
photographer,
Oh.
tables,
Yeah.
all food outside the main meal. Yeah.
How long would it normally
All
take
kind
you
of-
to plan a big party? I'm sure David Hellard can plan a party in 25 minutes flat.
Yeah.
Normally.
That's true. The big question
On
is
the way
whether
to
we
the
get,
party.
Like, a barrel of... Yeah, just pick up a 6-pack of Fosters, 8-pack of Fosters.
Foster's
you're
go.
done. Yeah, you go in there, buy the cheapest 4 cans of lager. What's the offer this time? Please be Kronenberg. Done. Party ahead. Yeah, we've just both been away and just been so busy, and there's an element of now. It's weird because we're both technically married. Like I've probably mentioned before that Briggsy doesn't really care about this kind of wedding celebration anymore, and I was quite excited about it. Like, come on, yeah, it's gonna be great. Let's do this, yeah, trying to get her excited. And now I'm exactly the same. I've just not got time to like. It's now just like a burden where you're looking at the like wedding bands now. So the wedding band pulled out on us fairly last minute. But when you think about it, like the price has gone up a lot. I think because of the cost of fuel, cost of blah blah blah. So it's like £4,000 for a normal wedding band, and when you break down the numbers, you're paying like £40 a head for people to watch a covers band, and you think we could be getting them into like some of my favourite artists. We could take the whole of our wedding to go and see like Frank Turner or whoever it may be.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, and it would be far cheaper. And yes, it's just nuts actually. For what is 2 hours of
£4,000, is
music,
that how much it costs?
That's and they seem it wasn't that, but everyone's put up their prices since the cost of living crisis, and so now you're like, wow, is my mum, is Uncle Stephen, are they going to love this band £40 worth? Like,
Yeah.
would they rather just have 40 quid worth of alcohol, with anything, just hardcore drugs, whatever it may be? Not have a band and everyone takes hallucinogenics.
Pretend there's a
MTV
band.
on. Yeah.
Do you know what? I would love that. That would remind me of going to the boardwalk in the 90s, where, it used to be in clubs, they used to have like screens with shit playing on them, and it would be like
Boardwalk. What?
in Manchester. Oh, it's an amazing,
that's the name of a
amazing
club,
club. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But it used to kind of like be a thing. They have music, and then they have like big screens with like various things on it, and so I don't know. It worked really well, and I think it. I'd be happy for that again. I'd be happy anything that you get to recreate it. Hallucinogens and a big screen with a load of meaningless nonsense
on the screens.
Well, you kind of it's there.
Oh, amazing.
It's there if you need it. You're there if you need it.
If you need extra stimulation.
If you need extra stimulation, yeah, exactly. But I think that's a good idea.
Well, I've been to a. Have you ever been to a testimonial?
What, a testimonial meal? Like,
Yeah.
celebrating the end of someone's career or something like that?
Yeah, it was that
Only
at that
for-
last night.
Only for football. Only for football. Like for
Like a
ex-Brighton
Brighton player,
players
is
and
it?
stuff like that. Yeah, like someone's testimonial meal, and they have all the famous people down here, and then all the scum somewhere else, completely different. Allowed to look down on the
we were
the
right
footballing
at the back.
heroes.
We were the absolute scum. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so I went to one for Andy Good, who was a Saracens player, England rugby player, because a friend had a spare table. Well, had spare seats on the table because it was booked 2 years ago for COVID. It's $5,000 a table.
Well, it's a testimonial, isn't it? Doesn't it all go to them?
I think they were doing well enough. They're giving it all to their mum's charity.
Okay.
Which was very sweet because she spoke for about 25 minutes about the charity to a room full of people just wanting to booze and eat. And but it's quite strange because you normally, like, at the end of when you sat at a formal dinner, there's normally a disco, isn't there? Or there's normally a something, but because the auctions take so long, and people were bidding $20,000 for stuff, which was quite, I mean, fair play. But
what went for $20,000? What kind of stuff? What kind of stuff for $20,000? What would you get for that? Is that like an experience or something?
So, Alex Good would come round your house with Francois Pinard, and they'd cook for you and do the washing up. So it was mainly like there was. Then you could win his top, which I think when Saracens won the European Cup, he carried on wearing the top and went on a 3-day bender and never washed it.
Right.
And so it was, which is, and the person in charge of the auction was, I think, he used to be the director of rugby at Sarries and at Bath. Now it's Bath. And he's there like, this is completely worthless, this. It's literally just an old rugby top. But yeah, and people get caught up in the bidding. But then even all of that is very insular because you've got 50 tables. And how many people on those tables are actually going to bid anything?
Oh, no, exactly. It's always the same 3 people.
It's really just like yeah, exactly, yeah. But they did quite a clever thing where everyone stood up and they said, sit down. £100 if you want your photo with the entire Saracens rugby team, and then £200 you sit down, and so everyone's standing there thinking, wow, it's quite fun standing here for a bit, right? There's no danger of it going yet. And then I got to about 1100 and thought, oh, it's thinning quite quickly now, each 100, and there was, I think, 12 people left, and they suddenly just went, congratulations, you've all won. And I think at that stage people were thinking, there's going to be one winner. This is great. I'll just carry on and I'll quickly sit. And then all 12 were kind of trapped in this. You're now paying £100 for a picture. So this is why my voice may be slightly jaded today. But what has been happening on your side? You're not running, are you? You may have had another incident.
Well, do you know what? I was about to say I've been to a awards ceremony as well. Well, a ceremony and stuff for the Business Book Awards on Monday.
How does one nominate themselves for that?
You have to fill out a really long, extensive form, which I did in a comedic fashion, thinking because there was like there's so many entries and stuff, and I was thinking, I don't think I've got any chance at this at all. I don't think I think the book is far too divisive. And so I filled out. I thought I'd go hard on the person. I started off the entry with, come on, admit it. We all know business books are boring. And it kind of led into that, nice. And I'm just going to go, just constantly going, if you hate this entry, you're absolutely going to hate the book. And then I start making references to things and say, if you have never seen the Saturday Night Live sketch around Don't Fear the Reaper, none of this last paragraph makes any sense to you. And it's just all stuff like that, which I was thinking, it'll be quite funny to post this afterwards to say, this is why I didn't get nominated, stuff like that. And then I did get nominated, which was a shock. Which was good. So, of course, go along to the awards.
Who are you against? Who are the big dogs in the category? Like, who are the ones who are like, I'm never going to beat?
The big dogs in the category were very... Well, it was in sales and marketing, but they were very literal. There were things like make money, make sales, make sales make profit or something like
sales
that,
make money. Okay.
or something like that. Marketing strategy, like really, really literal. In fact, when I went to the awards, everything that won had a really literal, sensible name. I think one of the ones was something like international finance or something like that. It was you had to have a literal name to win. So, of course, I've got to go along to this black tie event, which was on a Monday.
Where was it?
It was a Trafalgar Square around there. So it was one of the venues there. He said the most central venue in London, and I would say it pretty much is. So I went along to that, and I totally forgot that the last time I wore a dinner jacket, I barely got into it then, and so now was like, okay. Oh wow, this is a whole new level. And then I forgot I had any shoes. I didn't have any shoes.
Did you have to get one of those things that they put in planes for seatbelts, like an extender? You have to get one of those in the
An extender. No, I didn't. So the worst part was I didn't have any shoes because I remembered. And do you know what? The last time I wore my
put on weight in your feet.
No. Oh no.
Feet.
Have I told you this story about when I went to Glyndebourne? So literally, the last time I put my dinner jacket on, and I put my hand in my pocket, and the ticket for Glyndebourne was in my pocket. And I recalled that the pair of shoes that I had fell off my feet at Glyndebourne, literally right at the end of when we were walking out of the kind of the opera house bit. And literally the soles of both feet fell off. I don't know whether because it was really warm and like the glue had come unstuck or stuck or whatever, but my shoes fell apart as I was walking, which everyone thought was fucking hilarious. But I remembered the day before I'm supposed to go to an event that I don't have any black shoes anymore. But of course, as I told you, I broke or fractured my toe, something that has left it really bruised. I was like, Libby's like, well, you can't wear shoes if you've got a broken or fractured toe, so it's perfectly acceptable to wear trainers. So I'm like, perfect. So I wore a barely fitting dinner jacket and trainers to the event, and I didn't win, so I didn't have to like embarrass myself going on stage. But what was really
imagine
interesting...
if you'd have lost to you. Imagine if you'd have lost that category and they saw you getting up. Like how to start a cult and they're like, yeah, that's kind of hippie vibes. But that must be that must be a weird award ceremony where... Because normally if you go to an awards, you're in an industry.
Yeah.
And you know a lot of the other people. You might know the products. You've got an interest in actually elements of who's done like which pair of trainers, or whereas this is just all individuals who are completely unconnected. Who are all just doing it for their own kind of gratification. So no one gives a shit in any way about anyone else's category.
No, not at all. Exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. Like, but there were some kind of like big authors there and everything. So it was pretty credible.
Who's the biggies?
So Mary-Anne Seacart was
Alan Sugar.
Did she? No, Alan Sugar wasn't there. Alan Sugar writes his own books. Could you imagine like
Elon Musk?
Richard Branson, right? Like Elon Musk writes. Elon Musk hasn't written any. I don't imagine that he writes anything. I think he probably barks at a personal assistant and
tweets,
she writes it.
Tweets.
Or he writes it. Yeah, so it was fine. It did, although there was a bit of controversy because, you know, like you always hear about someone how they hire a like racist comedian. They hired a racist comedian.
Is that what did this person come up when you Google? Like, racist comedian, please.
I am the racist comedian that gets you publicity after the event, so people hear about your awards. That would be.
Was it a comedian we'd know, or you'd known?
No, it was no one that we'd know. I'd never heard of it. It was like it wasn't racist in the sense that he came out being outwardly racist. It was all the, I mean, it was pretty racist actually. What he did is he, I mean, it was pretty misogynist and pretty homophobic as well. I mean, like, he hit the big three there, and so yeah, he came out and then started. Pardon?
How old was this guy? Is he like an old time? Yeah, is he in his 60s?
I would say 50s. 50s. So, okay. You would know that. But I don't know. Like, you know, someone must have seen his act. Someone must have thought, this guy is he racist or is he borderline? Is he kind of, you know? And it wasn't like like Ricky Gervais where he's like borderline and he'll say things that are a sexist way, but because you're in the know, then he's obviously, you know, he's using irony and stuff like that. It's not like borderline type stuff like that. This was just, oh, he's doing an impression of an African tribesperson. This is completely unacceptable. Like what? Wow. Like why did they think that this was acceptable? It was so fucking awkward.
What did the room do?
The room kind of then, it went from like sort of nervous laughter up to that point to the room just then totally ignoring him, of which like 3 or 4 people just shot up and went straight to the back and started complaining. So, and it all kind of then, everyone kind of just started leaving and everything. So yeah, it was. Do
you think the comedian picked up on that?
He ploughed on. So I'm not sure he did. But yeah, I didn't hang around. And
if you wanted if you want to listen to our rival comedy running podcast, they what is Rob doing? Is it? That's important.
Running commentary. It was an interesting angle. But, you know, anything to get the listeners, anything to get the attention. No, so I've never been part of one of those situations where someone accidentally hires a racist comedian, and then what happens? But like as soon as we walk into, there were people complaining, like, you know, immediately. Like it was, it wasn't one of those
weirdly
things
I
where
actually,
people kind of.
I quite enjoy moments like that. I love it when things go wrong or when I love that social awkwardness and just seeing how people react to it. And,
I think people like normally. I think how people reacted to it 5-10 years ago is very different today. They don't put up with shit straight away now. And the thing is, the audience, that was the thing. It was a really diverse audience as well. It like wasn't like, oh, we're playing in a working men's club, we might be able to get away with some of this stuff. It was like a really diverse audience, of which there were books about diversity and inclusion, and you know, a massive range. You know, the big thing that they talked about was about increasing diversity. It was about like equality, how equal in the number of male authors and female authors, and then you get someone who comes and just undermines all of it. It was. I feel.
Can you name him? Can you name and shame? I want to Google this person.
I don't know who he was or anything. But I don't know. It's just one of those situations where you're just like, oh wow, this is so painful.
And have
you ever booked anyone? Have you? Because you must have booked loads of people. Have you ever booked anyone that turned out to be very, very different from when you first either saw their promo film or their previews or anything else like that?
Not different, but you don't know because a lot of the time with comedians, you don't know how they'd be in a different environment, unscripted. So you might love a comedian who might be very, very funny and have like a really tight set or a really tight act, or even come across as if they're, you know, ad-libbing and hilarious, but then put them in front of a TV audience or put them on the spot amongst other comedians, and it's a completely different dynamic. So there's a couple. There's 2 people in particular that I'd book. I won't mention their names because they're still quite successful comedians, but they they kind of, one of them froze, and one of them just didn't work. Like their energy was too hyper, that's not all comedians are naturally funny. Like minute by minute, right? They kind of analyse. They're
not like us.
And even not like us exactly. But I love, because I often listen to Adam Buxton, and he's full of doubt about himself, if he'll go on Countdown or if he's on a panel show, or he almost freezes because he normally he's with Adam and Joe, or he's doing his conversations, or he's got his props, and so but a stand-up comedian, stand-up, like stand-up, it might not work everywhere with a different audience, but they must have booked him through an agency.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
It's got to be price, right?
It's got to be. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And whether that gets feedback, or if that's the end of the career, or...
Oh, well, I had to send out an email apologising for it.
Brilliant.
Oh, it's good to hold their hands up and they didn't kind of brush it under the carpet. They were just like, this was like, we made a real error with this one, and we're really sorry. So good on them for doing that.
And were you there with Libby? Were you sat on a table with your fellow nominees? Was it mixed up? Was it
people tended to sit with the different publishing companies they were with. So I went on my own. I do a lot of stuff on my own, which has happened quite a lot since having children and everything else like that. Because either you can't get childcare or whatever. So go. So I went to. I was going.
Libby's doesn't want to be with you.
Libby's like, you're brave, and I'm like, is it brave to go to an awards on your own? And then I was thinking, actually, it is. Most people like go with a partner or a team or something else like that.
Someone to say, no, you're not shit. They can't get off, at least.
Don't worry, sweetheart. They just didn't get the book, did they? They didn't understand. And it was really interesting because one of the
special, yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, you're a winner in my. That's the problem. It was a really, really sincere night. Like everyone was talking about, regardless of who wins, you're all winners, and it's all about sincerity and about knowledge and things like that. And that environment is just one of those ones where, well, I'm like, how much was a ticket? £200. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But you're just
not too bad.
No, not too bad at all. But it's just like, it's one of those ones where you're just like, I'd love it if someone just said the majority of people in here are losers, and that's just fact. Just because it is.
Like, how many in here are self-published?
It's all inflated like egos and stuff, isn't it? Because everyone, you're writing a bloody book and everything, and so. About essentially for your own purposes, and so that's it, isn't it? And
one of my friends, Stephen, who I think you met at the Dragon's Den viewing, he's a ghostwriter, and he says that's incredible because it's people that think they've got a story enough, but they can't write, and they come to you and are like, "Let me tell you about how fabulous I am or how wonderful I am," and then.
And you're like, I've got nothing. You've given me nothing.
Well, it's often just super weird where they, for some reason, they think this thing in their head is this thing they've done or this part of their interests need to be catalogued.
Well, we get that in running all the time.
It's not.
We get that in running all the time. Like the amount of people that go, oh, this story. You know what? I was really overweight, and then I discovered running, and I ran the MDS. And you're like. Where's the differentiator of anything? Like that story's like, I mean, your story is amazing. It's not book worthy amazing. I mean, like go ahead and write your book about it and stuff, but it's not like get on the podcast, like differentiate it amazing. Like lots of and I'm not taken away from that, but there has to be an angle. There has to be an angle to it.
Yeah. So, and was that a business expense? £200 write-off?
Yeah, business write-off, of course.
Yeah, there you go. Well, before I'm doing a quick one today, just because I need to plan my wedding. But we've got some news. So, firstly, Rena McGregor's got a book out.
Ooh.
Yes, I know a lot of people will actually like. Normally, when someone's got a book out, you're like, oh yeah, sure, you've run out of things to do, or you don't know how to make money. Or,
That's exactly what people think. You are bored. It's either you're either going to launch a podcast or you're going to write a book. It's one or the other.
You're trying to cash in some way, and so. But Rini is someone who actually, she's the type of person that would have had requests, and probably everyone who's listened to her are like, why isn't this in a book so I can actually go through the notes? And so her book, and I'll mention it just because I genuinely think it will be great, and just from reading it, it sounds really good. So More Fuel You, understand your body and how to fuel your adventures. So as you'd imagine, it's basically her talking about how to fuel for different sports. We know her through her work with the GB 24-hour team, but actually she's worked with, I think, the British Ballet and various things. And she also talks through the other elements where she talks about menopause, she talks about training on reds, menstrual cycle. So go and buy that book, people. Go and buy that book. It will be great. I've read the synopsis, and it's kind of what you'd expect from reading, just informed, knowledgeable. But have you seen the 48-hour world record has gone?
No. Who took it?
Patricia Beresnovska broke the record. This was the one that actually was Camille always had in her sights to try and get the overall record.
Yeah.
And has yet to really, I think, have enough of a period of not being injured or not kind of having issues in races. So, she... How far do you think she ran?
Oh, I don't know. Fucking hell. I haven't got a clue. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Can't even make an educated guess. 48 hours, no idea. What was the previous record?
400 kilometres. 400.
What was that?
So
what did you do?
The previous record was 397 kilometres. Upped it to 480.
Fucking hell!
So 6 kilometres.
3 kilometres. 3 kilometres more in that period of time. Fucking hell.
Yeah. And
I don't. The thing is, I don't know. It's
fair play to her.
I mean, just like I don't know. It's just really difficult to comprehend. That's all.
Yeah. And especially because I'd imagine those last hours, it's just are you still moving or not? Are you moving the whole time? And 48 hours is probably that distance where you can do it without sleep. But should you? And she'd apparently officially broken it in 2018, but it was never ratified. Imagine that. You run over 400 kilometres and then they're like, nah, sorry. So she holds the record for Badwater and Spartathlon. Sounds pretty amazing. We should get her on, actually. My question, though, is I'm not sure how her English is, because looking at her Instagram, I don't think... I get the sense that her English might not be that great. And that's the thing, as soon as you have someone who's not English-speaking, the articles are tiny, because no one interviews them. And so you just get, they've run this time, and they don't know anything about them, because they can't do their research very well in a foreign language. So Patricia congratulations. If anyone knows, if Patricia can speak good enough English to come on the podcast, let us know.
Why can't we wing it? Why can't we wing it with Google Translate? Like Hardest Geezer did.
Yeah,
that's what it's there for.
We don't even need to get Patricia then, do we? We just get anyone just to come on, and we could get your racist comedian to come on and do his impression of what a Polish person sounds like.
Your racist comedian. It's like possession of a racist comedian. It's not my racist comedian. He was the racist comedian at the event I went to.
I mean, let's think about it. I haven't got a band for the wedding. This guy's not working again.
He's going to need work now.
Yeah. Perfect, right?
Who knew you were going to find the act that was going to make the difference?
But I've got Wainwright's John Kelly. Have we talked about this? John Kelly breaking the Wainwrights. That was a while back, but we didn't talk about it.
It feels like we've talked about it because there's been lots of talk about it. But I'm not 100% sure that we have talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, he smashed it out, and that's the thing with some of these records. It's been broken several times, and then John Kelly's obviously tremendous.
And then John Kelly does it,
and he took
Damien Hall.
Yeah, yeah, and just takes a massive chunk out of it. So I think
is Damien doing it? Is Damien doing it next week with some shopping bags or something, just to wind John Kelly up?
That's the thing. He could have done. He could do because John's. I think has John left the country now? John is almost imminently leaving the country. I've got something in my diary that clashes where he was planning on doing like an ultra between a few pubs as his kind of farewell that anyone can go and join. So if you're free for that, if it's not happened, go and do it. But yeah, he's leaving soon, so leaving the door open for Damo. So he's going to return back to the States. But when we spoke to the last the previous Wainwright's holder, whose name escapes me, apologies, lovely gentleman, and at the time he was very humbly saying, Paul Tierney.
Paul Tierney. Yeah.
He was saying very humbly, like, well, I've got it, but it's not that great. And then I think Sabrina broke it, and then someone else broke it, and that's the thing. With these FKTs, a lot of them are out there and not that robust. Whereas this one, given we've had 4 changes in the last 2-3 years, lockdown's hopefully over. Is this one going to last the test of time? And there's an element of, if you look at this as an athlete, you've really got to want it now. Because previously, I think people just thought, I reckon I could do that, I could beat that. Whereas to beat, what I've got is Strava.
Because there's certain if you were sensible, you'd have done an FKT of a route that no one gives a shit about, because no one. Yeah. Because if it's there for the taking,
which is every FKT, by the way, which is every FKT.
But there are some big ones that are there for the taking because people just haven't really thought about what they, what it's like. I suppose it's the Monarch's Way situation, isn't it? I'm sure someone could take that FKT off LSE, but who wants to? Who really? Who wants to? I think
Vic Owens has got it now. Vic Owens did it barefoot. I think she's got the. I don't know.
Oh, she got the FKT.
But yeah,
what in the same? But he has it unsupported though, doesn't he? He has an unsupported FKT. I think hers was supported, so it is different.
Okay. He managed to find a way that no one can ever.
There's all these rules about winter FKT. I'm ginger and I've done the FKT, so I'm at a disadvantage. There's probably loads of different FKT rules that only if you're fully within the FKT bubble that you kind of can come up with, so that every record stands for some reason.
Yeah. But he's put it on Strava, which is great to see. It's actually quite a pretty thing to look at when you're taking the enormity of it. So he did 132 hours, which is, 5 and a bit days? Not that. Wow. Less than 6 days. So I think he took 2 days off it. When you think how many days that was already, like that, it's an insane amount he's taken off. Insane. And what I also quite like he's got some crowns, some Strava segments where he's taken the record. Personal record. But yeah, he's like 5th overall in some segments, and you think that is not bad going when you're racing for 132 hours and you're still top 10 of all the Wainwrights. So congratulations, John.
Insane natural talent and insane training, which I feel is cheating somehow. But well done, John.
And then other news as well. This has been a while back, but have you seen about the UK athletics? And they had the back and forth about the anniversary games, July the 13th.
No, I've not. What's the anniversary games?
So during the anniversary games, it's this weird legacy where it's such a fast, the Olympics, really, in many ways. The bidding process, the country, the legacy supposedly is all about legacy. In London, the legacy really has been the dirtiest Olympics of all time, and loads of medals for us, which is great. Don't know if that's linked, but they were talking. The whole thing was about regenerating East London, Stratford. So the anniversary games, the idea was every year they would have a games where they get loads of great runners from around the world to compete against young British and British athletes to inspire people, yada yada yada. But I hadn't realised the deal for the stadium was insane. So, firstly, it cost £3 million to move the seats within the stadium, to change it from a football pitch into a track. £3 million. So the anniversary games cost £300 million, just that. And previously they'd put on loads of gigs. So we went to see AC/DC there, and that's how they claw back some of that money. So it wasn't going to cost £3 million. But because of COVID, they're saying there's been the knock-on effect of gigs rolling over, things being cancelled. It was going to cost them £3 million to put these games on for this legacy. And so the London Legacy Development Authority made a request to move the event to an alternative venue, so that they don't have to pay this money. And UK Athletics negotiated a £2 million payoff to move the anniversary games from London Stadium. But what I hadn't realised is, so West Ham ended up moving in, and there was this whole question mark where, at the time, I think Boris was desperate to make out as London Mayor, this is great, we've managed to, the stadium's going to be used for all these things, positive. Yeah. And West Ham were allowed to sell their own ground to developers, keep all the money, and in return, they got a 99-year lease for 15 million. But by the time the costs plus the conversion, the value of it was about 700 million. So they would charge 2.5 million per year as rental. So West Ham basically got a 700 million pound stadium for about 15 million.
Yeah, then I remember
the
West Ham for a long period even would had chants about it, about how they basically got the stadium for nothing and thanks everyone for paying for it. And I remember that, like there was this whole thing, like West Ham were just going, thanks London, that's just incredible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The legacy was the anniversary games was one of the big things in there, and now that's not there. So UK Athletics are kind of having to find a new home for it potentially. Will it come back? Will it not? So just a complete farce from start to finish, really. But also one of those things where it's worth remembering in years to come that when we remember how good London was, and actually it was amazing, that even the stadium alone has cost 700 million too. So £10 of every person. You could have a tenner in your pocket just from that stadium alone. And instead, you personally have given £10 to West Ham. Just giving it to them. Scuzzy West Ham. Bracken Bowmen.
Oh, I think West Ham are all right. I'd prefer to give it West Ham than Spurs. Yeah. I'm glad it went to West Ham. I'm glad Spurs have to spend huge amounts of money.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
why.
that's because you're xenophobic, isn't it?
Yeah. That's because I'm xenophobic. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, if it wasn't for the Olympics, it wouldn't have that bizarrely complicated. Was it that bizarrely complicated 10K that goes around the Olympic Village, which has provided us with a huge amount of enjoyment over the years.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go and plan a wedding, but apologies about the next few weeks. We are having a few issues with changing to a new technology that sadly looks like it's cut out half of an incredible interview with Stephanie Case. We're going to try and figure out if we can retrieve it or not. But we may be intermittent with some of our episodes, and they may be jumping around in quality as well. So, and one thing I did promise I'd read out for a friend of mine, a little bit of a plug. So, have you heard of the app Canopy?
I have heard of it, but that's only because you told me about it. But it sounds good.
Good. The word's getting out already. So,
yeah.
This is the blurb my friend Annie has messaged. She said, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm excited to announce a partnership with maternal mental health app Canopy to offer free access for the month of May. Canopy supports expecting mothers and new parents with their well-being, regardless of how they're feeling, by offering a personalised, evidence-based therapeutical techniques that can help build resilience, improve well-being, and soothe anxious minds. Within the app, you'll find sections that cover common challenges like bonding, managing relationships, breastfeeding, feeling low, guilty, self-criticism, and loss of identity. You'll also hear stories from other parents sharing their experiences. So just download the app. It's Canopy, Canopie. And for free access, just use the code BBRU22. BBRU22. What's the U for, do you think? So yeah, there you go. If you're a mum, an expectant mum, a recent mum, a parent, download it, and you've got a month to just help you with the struggle, basically. Although you're probably not listening to podcasts, are you? You're probably just knee deep in poos. But there you go. It's in the Facebook group.
It's the same as listening to this podcast.
Again. True. Well, D-Badders, if there's any guests you'd like us to interview, then message me. We've got some very good ones have come in recently, so I'm lining them up. We've got Toughest Geezer coming up in a few weeks, and Judith Weeder, probably out next week or just out, who's 5 times world orienteering champion. We find out everything you ever wanted to know about orienteering and a little bit more. Anything to throw into the mix, Jody?
Yeah, I'd say if you want to join the conversation, head over to Facebook, type in Bad Boy Running Podcast, answer 3 questions, and join the conversation there. If you want to buy BBR merch, head to store.badboyrunning.com and purchase yourself a nice little, well, I would say nice, purchase yourself a t-shirt or vest.
Thanks for listening, guys. Please do rate and review all that jazz, and we will see you next time.
See you later. Bye 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 bye.